Six figure.
Good morning, New York. Good afternoon, New Orleans. Good night, America. This is Young Money, Nicki Minaj.
They don't make us or break us, no, I'm with the bakers. I'm getting bread with dread up in Jamaica. It's them young stunners, Nick and Little Weezy. Nick, I'm the chick that go get it like Jeezy. Fall back cause I do this here. Step your bars up or you through this year. Yup, it's only right that the whole block stare. Hopped out the air in the blue and white layer. I'm here, I'm lit, long hair, don't care. Steady staring at my ear cause my ear on glare. Now it's not hard to find me. Top behind me, you be Harry Potter and I'll be Hermione. I'll be early, I'm the girl day. Call the one like I'm my first birthday. I'm in the Range Rover, rocking the Kango. The pussy real good, it tastes like mango. Can't stop, won't stop, ripping Young Money, yeah, we get down, yeah, we get down, yeah. Boys, they love me.
Calm down, 1100.
Can't stop, won't stop, ripping Young Money, yeah, we get down, yeah, we get down, yeah, we
Go. So I guess it's my turn, and I'm a boy niggas' heads like sideburns. Big fan.
Hold and seen. Now remember, is the difference. Sometimes I'm given intel that I can't vet out. So sometimes it's a matter of getting intel that you can't really vet out, and you have to say alleged. But what I saw is the truth. One thing I'm quite equipped with was seeing beyond this spectrum of light, and she is something that is, she's a disgusting piece of work. That, and like I said, this is why I've made it my point to tell you to stay away from merging or creating children of mass destruction. Ill mating creates ill children. Savages. A lot of the savagery could have been avoided by mating with people of higher frequency. When you are having sex, when you're doing drugs and cocaine, when you're high on wine and spirits, you are not just having sex with you and that person. You're having sex with their demons. And when you're seeded, the demons seed you as well. I think a lot of times, we have these conversations and you guys say, oh, Fleur Brun, you're so judgmental about drugs and alcohol. Am I really? Am I really that judgmental? To say that you should have a higher quality of engagement and know that every time that you engage with drugs of any sort, that it lowers your frequency, that it lowers your auric immune system, making you susceptible to demonic attachments. Am I wrong for encouraging you to have higher field relationships within yourself and loving yourself enough to not engage with substances that they have promoted and put out on the streets to do exactly what they want you to do, is having chaotic sex and having chaotic children that are basically walking around putting hits on people, murdering children. All these beings out here are created from ill-mated unions. So if I'm wrong for doing that, then I will hold that stance until I pass away. That is something that I always encourage you to make sure that you take in consideration. You take on, if you mate with someone who's a murderer, if you mate with someone who's a drug dealer, if you give birth to their child, you give birth to their karmic debt. That child takes their debt. So you basically are taking on that debt yourself. You have, there isn't a time, and I'll tell you stories about, I was a young lady. My parents weren't drug addicts. They didn't do things like that. And it's not to judge anyone whose parents did, but I came from really amazingly sweet people, just good-hearted people, free from demons. So my creation wasn't with demonic infestation. And you can see that in the frequency that I emit now. Even in some of the things that I've done that have been, less than appropriate, I've always had a high consciousness about it. I've always gotten karma immediately just because I wasn't in that frequency. But I've met plenty of people in New York City, and I will tell you, the demons that I met, I hadn't any clue existed. And that's the only thing that my parents couldn't have taught me. Those were things I had to see for myself. And I can tell someone who's done cocaine for years, and I will say this and call it a judgment, but Fleur Brun is seasoned, and I've lived on this planet longer than most, and some people I know. When someone has done drugs for a long period of time, and I know this is disheartening for many of you who have struggled with this, and I know it's very hard for you to hear, but those demons stay with you until you die. I've seen it. They stay latent inside of your belly. They stay with you. Once you engage with certain substances, it's almost like having an everlasting parasite, just waiting to be fed, waiting for an opportunity, if you don't feed it, for you to sleep with someone, or for you to bring someone into your yoni space, or you to have your wand touching a yoni that is infested with the very thing that you struggle with, because your demon will always require to be fed. I haven't met anyone who's done cocaine for long periods of time that even after stopping years later, you can see the demon on them. You could see it in their belly. It's still attached to them. And in their deeds and in their actions, they are even unaware that their choices will always be based on this parasite perpetually attached to their auric field. This is why Willy Wonka had delivered lots and lots of certain drugs. It's not just the drugs. They were delivering demons to the neighborhoods. Perpetual demons attached to your drug of choice. Now it's in pharmaceuticals. So now you have people walking around in recovery and they still have demons in their bellies. I've seen it. I've seen it. And it's a shame and it's sad. But if you know better, you do better. If you haven't gotten to that point where you've engaged with any drug, I would really urge you to refrain from touching from any drugs. Yes, I am an anti-drug supporter. For the fact is, this planet has entities in 4D that are, and in other realms, lower realms, that are parasitic, and because of the denseness of the dimension that we're existing in, they have a way of feeding off of you. And if you are their main food source of humanity, an unaware humanity is their main food source, what do you think you are able to do when every food, every elixir, every substance that you engage with could perpetually make you susceptibly pleasable to a parasitic demon? So when I see people walk around who did crack years ago, who did cocaine heavily years ago, I see the demons on them. And unfortunately for them, I try to avoid being too close to them, because those demons will see another meal plan in me and will create scenarios, beefs, try to trigger you. It's what they do. We have to make better choices. And family, if we didn't make good choices, please encourage your children and stop mating with demons. Because if you didn't mate with the demon, beings like Cardi B could not have been created. When you see her sister, and her mother fighting in the street like animals with her mother, there isn't a mother alive who loves her children who would go out in a street fight with her children in order to level the score. These are demons. And yes, it is a judgment. And yes, I can sit in a position of judgment in this particular case, because when you see a person that's been leveled this high, where she's even being played on the radio at children's events, you know we've gone too far.